life after prison? Hi, I'm Max Haddad. The most common question that I get asked by far when people realize that I've had legal trouble is, what is prison like? Is it like how it's depicted on TV? Is it like Orange is the New Black? Oz, for those of you that are my age. Is it like Shawshank Redemption? Do you have to be careful? Don't drop the soap. Are you worried about getting raped? There's all sorts of stuff that people have seen on TV and want to know, is that what prison's like? What is it really like in prison? So I'm not going to tell you today necessarily about like my first day in. If you want to hear about that, let me know. But I'm going to tell you what prison is like generally. Now, the prison that I was in was a level 2 prison. So they divide them by levels. Obviously, that's why I said I was in a level 2. Level 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically, there's a 5. So level 1 is like as easy as it gets. People at level 1 prisons, at least in my state, literally get to go to state fairgrounds and clean up while there's activities going on. They can smoke cigarettes if the guards are nice. Actually, a lot of times they can just smoke cigarettes at the prison. They spend a lot of time outside. It's prison. It's still bad. And for those of you that aren't convinced, like, oh, it doesn't seem that bad. You get 3 square meals a day. No, prison is altogether a really unpleasant experience, even at a level 1 prison. So I was at a level 2 prison, which is by no means maximum security, but it's a little bit more restrictive than a level 1 prison. So as opposed to like being in an open air situation where you can kind of come and go as you please, work out whenever you want, go play basketball whenever you want, we are confined to like a dorm situation, not like in college. You're not running around getting laid, or at least hopefully that's not what you're doing, because it's probably not who you want to sleep with. It is about 160 guys all in one room, pretty big room. So 80 on one side, 80 on the other, and then in the middle is the day room where the TV is. There's a bunch of tables, chairs. People play cards there. People play chess there. People play dice there with dice that they've made out of, hardened hair wax. And we are on a pretty strict schedule. So meals at certain times of the day. You can only work out these days of the week. Well, you're escorted everywhere by a guard. They are constantly keeping an eye on what you're doing, walking around, extra guards coming, walking through, doing random searches of your stuff, of you. Much more invasive than a level 1 prison. Level 1 prison, you can really have any charge there. You could be at the end of a 60-year murder sentence, and because you've already done 50 years, haven't gotten into trouble in a while, they feel that it's safe to put you to level 1. Whether it is or it isn't, I don't know. Level 2, you're going to have people like me that have robbed something or somebody. You're going to have some murderers, some rapists, some, honestly, a lot of sex offenders, all sorts of people, a lot of drug dealers, a lot of drug addicts. And you are split into these dorms basically based on your individual needs. So if you're older or sick, you're going to be in the medical dorm. If you work in the kitchen for 12 cents an hour, you're going to be in the kitchen dorm. Different dorms have different hours. So you're not really commingling with people from different dorms like you would at a level 1 prison. Kitchen dorms, they're going to turn off the lights earlier so you can attempt to get some sleep. They're going to be a little bit more strict about noise, keeping it quieter than at other dorms so people can get some rest, hopefully. It's not a very easy thing to get in prison, that's for sure. People are screaming at 4 in the morning. People are screaming at 4 in the evening. Doesn't matter. So, there's a warehouse dorm, people that are moving pallets. Prisons are basically businesses that pay their employees 12 cents an hour, and the employees can't leave. And they have to take their employees to the doctor if they're sick. They make a lot of money off of the stuff that we would make and sell. I'm not talking about like birdhouses made out of popsicle sticks. I'm talking about like pallets, crates, things like that are made at the warehouse, and then they ship those out. A lot of times just to other prisons, sell them to other prisons that don't have the same amenities as far as building that the prison that I was at had. So I ended up in a disciplinary idle dorm. Disciplinary idle dorm is a dorm that is for people that have gone to prison and then gotten in trouble. It's not as bad as like solitary confinement, but they've managed to get in enough trouble that they have to be put somewhere specific. Idle also being that you either refused a job or you weren't given a job. So when I first got to the prison, they offered me a cleaning job, meaning that whatever dorm I was at, when they called for it, I would have to clean up. And I said, I'm not going to do that. You already took me away from my friends and my family, everything I love. I'm not going to clean up for you. So they put me in 15 South, which is a disciplinary idle dorm. Before I got there, everybody was like, oh, it's the Thunderdome, bro. You got to be careful. Got to watch your back. 15 South was like adult daycare. There were plenty of fights. I definitely saw some crazy shit. Saw people get their heads cracked open. Fights over things as small as who's next on the microwave to race. Not really riots, but fights over race, or at least things, problems that happen between somebody of one race and somebody of another race, and then it being misconstrued as a this race versus that race thing. So I was in this disciplinary idle dorm. I was with a bunch of people that had gone to prison, then gotten in trouble again. And some of the stuff that you see on TV is true. You know, don't drop the soap. Not really. I mean, like, don't drop the soap anyways. Like, I am at home and I'm not like, oh, thank God, I love dropping the soap. Why? Don't do that. Even if you're not going to get raped, which you're not, probably, like, ew, it's on the bathroom floor. And then also, like, you got to bend over and show your stuff to everybody. It's just like, just don't drop the soap in general. Like, that's just a good rule of thumb. Like, don't do it. But matters of respect, you know, a lot of people, especially old timers in prison, don't like the B word. They don't like to be called bitch. You know, I would run around calling my buddies bitches. They'd call me bitches. It's just a joke. It was silly, but you did have to be careful about who you talk to and how you talk to them. People are under such huge amounts of constant stress in prison from circumstances. You know, you're locked down. The temperature is either way too hot or way too cold. You're underfed. You are completely sedentary for the most part. So people have this weight on their shoulders and they're ready to pop off at any second. And if you give them an excuse to use you as a punching bag to relieve some of that stress, they will gladly do it. I stayed out of most fights. I ended up getting in a few tussles, if you will. I was never hurt terribly. I technically won the fights, but I'm not trying to be tough because they weren't even really like, it wasn't like that. Like, for example, one of them was over a book. Somebody had borrowed my book. They didn't give it back. I like pranked them to get them back, to teach them a lesson. They didn't like that. We fought. I punched him a couple times and that was it. So there are people in prison that are just trying to do their time. They're trying to keep their head down and fly under the radar, read on their bed, play chess. And there are people who go to prison and it's a home away from home. All their buddies are there. Whatever gang they're affiliated with is there. And they get to go to work. They're going to sell drugs at 10 times the street price. They are going to have conflicts with other gangs. They are going to get high. A lot of drugs in prison. Not necessarily all of them all the time, but a lot of them all the time. And those groups of people, the people trying to do their time and get out, and the people that are going to cause havoc wherever they go, by necessity, integrate together. And because of that, you end up with some really unfortunate circumstances. A lot of the people that end up in prison are weak-minded, and it's not their fault. It's their responsibility. That's a different thing, though. They had a terrible upbringing. They were never taught how to say no, how to be strong, what it means to have a backbone, self-esteem, what you have to do to feel good about yourself and stay healthy. And when you put those people around people that are happy to manipulate anyone and anything in order to gain some benefit, you end up with some people in situations that they would definitely prefer not to be in. You end up with seemingly not innocent, they have a crime that they've committed, but innocent people affiliating with gangs, basically because of peer pressure. You've got people squabbling, trying to prove that they're tough, when if it was up to them, they would be sitting in a corner quietly, listening to their, shitty $3 radio. There's shitty radios in prison. And everything is basically clear that we would get, radios, things like that, because they want to make sure that you're not smuggling anything in the radio. A lot of weird stuff. A lot of really arbitrary rules, kind of pointless rules. So, for example, the warden, I only saw the warden one time. He came to our dorm and called us all into the day room. So 160 guys called us all in from whatever we were doing, illegal tattoos, all sorts of stuff. I wasn't doing that. I was probably reading or sleeping. That was what I did. Played chess a little bit. So called us all into the day room, gave us a really stern talking to, told us that gentlemen, you better not bring chairs into the bathroom, you sons of guns. That's what he came from his, seventh house in the Bahamas to tell us, don't bring chairs into the bathroom. Plastic chairs, people would take them into the bathroom to stand on to do pull-ups, bring them into the bathroom to sit on so they could cut each other's hair. That sounds more feminine than it is, but it was a service that people provided. You'd pay somebody in food, pay them in ramen noodle soup, pay them in summer sausage, knock off, off-brand Doritos, off-brand Oreos, stuff like that, pay them, and they would cut your hair. The way that they cut your hair, we don't have scissors. We would have state-provided razor blades that were really pretty safe. They weren't very sharp at all. That would, be in the plastic razors. You break the plastic razor, and you take a comb, and you string the razor through the teeth of the comb, and then you would use that to cut your hair. You could comb it out and cut it with the razor. So that's why the chairs were in the bathrooms. He came all the way out to tell us that if we kept doing it, they were going to take the chairs away. Oh, my chairs. And the week before, my buddy Dane had been jumped in the bathroom by some dude who was paid $20 and had his skull cracked open. I think he had his arm broken, had a couple ribs broken, but definitely had his skull cracked open. Never seen that much blood in my life. And he was taken to the hospital, was on the mend. He was fine, but no warden for that. Go ahead and do that, but no chairs. If fights broke out, it really depended on which guard was on duty. Most of them would put a stop to it. One of the two times that there was a race-related conflict happening, and it was not even about race, but it became about race. This kid had his stuff taken by these other guys. These other people that were from one organization tried to get the stuff back from this other organization. These guys said no. These guys said yes. It becomes a fight. They happen to be of different races. Bada bing, bada boom, race war. So the guard that was on duty said, you guys can go into the bathroom where there's no cameras. That's why a lot of this stuff happened in the bathroom. You guys can go into the bathroom. You can fight one-on-one. But as soon as somebody gets jumped, I'm going to have to call the sergeant, the captain. Meaning they're going to come in their military vest, big tough guys. And some of them were, like 1 out of 10. and, mace us and beat it, blah, 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 and beat us down. But as long as you go to the bathroom and mano y mano, duke it out, that's totally fine. So they did that all night. We stayed up all night hearing people go to the bathroom. You would know that something was about to pop off in prison when everybody went from wearing their Crocs to wearing tennis shoes. The theory was stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So people would wear their shoes. If there was tension in the dorm, you could feel it. It was palpable. Everybody puts their shoes on. You're just ready to protect yourself. Or stand up for your buddy. You're not going to stand up for anybody that doesn't stand up for themselves, though. At least you shouldn't. So, all throughout the night we would hear squeak, 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 squeak. That's my best impression of it. Tennis shoes squeaking on the bathroom tile, which meant somebody's fighting. You could hear it. And people would yell, they bumping, meaning they're fighting. And it was sort of a joke, but it was also awful because of, again, that stress on their shoulders, the immense tension in the dorm, a race-related conflict where if you weren't really careful, somebody was going to make you pick sides. And if you're somebody like me, and there's plenty of people like me, you don't dislike people just because they're a different color. But you're in a world where people expect that of you. So somebody might assume that of me and hate me because they think I hate them, when I could either care less about them or I like them because I see that they're having a hard time. So I did my time at this prison, stayed safe, was never hurt, ended up in a decent position because I was able to make commissary every week. I got the maximum amount of food ordered every week. I was able to trade that, eat that, because I hated the kitchen food. The kitchen food was made by a bunch of dudes that only worked at the kitchen so they could smuggle stuff, trade, and talk to other people. They didn't give a shit about the quality of the food, so they were sweat in it, blood in it, spit in it, all that. Gross. So I ate the commissary food, which was almost literally gas station food for the entire time that I was there. Like I said, knockoff Doritos, summer sausage, beef jerky, tuna fish out of a can, or not even, sorry, because you can't have a can, you'll make a knife out of it. Tuna fish out of a pouch, a lot of bagged fish, not exactly fresh from the sea for the year that I was there. And but because I made commissary every week, I was able to store some of it out, meaning that I would say, okay, I'm going to give you 2 of these soups, ramen noodle soups, today, and next week I want 3 back, that kind of thing. People were pretty good about paying. If they weren't, you basically just went and asked them. I never had to hurt anybody. And to be honest with you, I'm glad they didn't put me in that position because I wouldn't have wanted to. Over soup, I did a really good job at being cognizant that the real world was out there. I didn't forget who I was, and that 2 ramen noodle soups cost 20 cents at the grocery store. So don't hurt somebody because of it. Don't freak out because of it. Overall, prison is, and I hate this because I have so much more to say, but I don't want to make this a 3-hour video. Overall, prison is boring. It's long periods of boredom and stress and dis-ease, unease, and brief periods of insane danger and panic is what it is. What it taught me was gratitude. I wasn't appreciative of anything before. I thought that I had okay parents, an okay life, okay siblings. And when I went in to my incarceration, I realized the caliber of the people that I had in my life, and I saw who was willing to be there for me and who wasn't. And it really separated the wheat from the chaff. And I left prison just being happy to see the sky. I didn't get to touch a tree for 2 years. So I came out with an appreciation for things that I thought was so cheesy and gross before. And now it's one of the staples that keep me moving forward. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. More to come. If you have any questions, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment, and I'll get to it. Promise. Talk to you soon. Bye.